All right, what's going on, guys? It's Professor Ganada here, back at it again with another video. And today we're going to go ahead and take a look into drafting with SketchUp. Now, I recommend that you guys open up the two PowerPoints that I have posted for this week. Should be under week 10, I believe. And that'll get you guys started with the URL posted that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that URL into my bar up here, and we're going to get started. Now, first going to be prompted with the sign in. I recommend signing in with Google, a Google account that you guys have made yourselves, or alternatively, you could use an email service. All right, so now that we're actually all up and running and signed in, we're going to go ahead and create new. We're going to start with a blank template. Currently, we're viewing our project in a 3D view, and we don't want that. We're actually going to be using it exclusively for 2D. So to correct this, we're going to go over to the right-hand side. We're going to hit the view icon right here. We're going to click it, and you're going to see we have an image of a house showing it at every single angle. We're going to go for top down. That's going to ensure that we're actually be working on a 2D level. On top of that, we're actually going to get rid of this grid that we have over here. So on the left-hand side, we're going to go to our magnifying glass, and we're going to search for view access right here, and we're going to turn that off. So now we don't have the 3 dimensions to worry about. We exclusively just have the 2 dimensions. Now we're actually ready to start drawing. For those of you guys who have downloaded the PowerPoints, you're going to be following along with me. I find that to be easier. And if you notice, the next step's actually going to be making a box. This box is actually going to have the dimensions of 36 inches and 22 inches. I chose to do that because that's actually the on average estimate you'd find of an air handler. So to do this, we're actually going to go over to our line tool right here. We're going to select the line tool. And you can actually make a point wherever you want. I'm just going to go click right here. And you can see wherever I point my cursor, that is where my line will be. It's going to be a straight line. They normally go on a 90-degree axis, and it'll snap in that fashion. Now, another thing I want you guys to look at is the bottom right-hand side of my screen. You'll see where it'll say length. Right now, it currently says 1 inch and 3/4. So I could actually drag and I could take measurements that way. What you could also do is you could physically type it on your keyboard, the dimensions that you want. So we want 36, and then we're going to hit enter. Now that is in inches. So it's 36 inches or 3 feet. And on top of that, we're still snapped over to this corner right here. We're going to do 22, and that'll be 22 inches. Now I can even go ahead and free drag it this way, and I'll even have a little dotted axis when it will snap to that opposing end. So I can click just like that, and I can click just like that, and it looks like I have a perfect box with the dimensions of 36 inches, 22 inches. But in order for this to be real and practical, we want to actually confirm that it's those dimensions. So if you look in the left-hand side over here, this tape measure is ideal for measuring. So we're actually going to click the dimension tool right here, and we can have at it. So if I click anywhere, any 2 points, I can actually get a measurement. So that's 3 feet right there. And I can even do this side right here. That is 1 foot and 10 inches right there. All right, so on top of that, we're actually going to color code this bad boy right here. In order to do that, we're going to go look on the left-hand side. We're going to hit this paint bucket right here. If you're familiar with any sort of drawing or paint applications, you'll know that'll be for painting. So if I hit this bucket, it also activates the right-hand corner over there that says materials, and we could choose a color for this air handler. I'm going to opt in for a dark gray. I think that's more representative of what we're trying to do here, and we're going to make it gray. All right, so now we're going to go over to the left-hand side to where it says dimensions again, and we're going to see right here in the middle where it says text, we're actually going to go ahead and name this object just so we don't forget what it is. And it's ideal to click on a specific endpoint to do it, because if you do not and you click on it freely elsewhere, it won't be magnetized to it. And we want our text to be magnetized to this object. So we're going to click right here. We're going to drag away a bit, and by default, it'll just show the measurements of it, but we're going to rename it to air handler, like so. Now, for those of you that are following along with the PowerPoint, that is going to conclude PowerPoint 1. We're going to move on to the saving feature towards the end of this video. But now I'd like you guys to move on to PowerPoint number 2. We're going to get into actually ducting out uh, upon this air handler. So to get started, I'm actually going to close this right here and free up some space. And another thing to remember, if we want to pan around and move, the best way to do that is to hold the shift key and to hold the middle mouse button. And when you do that, it's actually going to transform our cursor into the hand so we can move around. That actually makes things a lot smoother for us. So moving on with the actual ductwork here, I'm going to hit the line tool again. And I'm going to make my point because we're going to put our ductwork to the right-hand side of this air handler. And keep in mind, the length counter on the right-hand side, we're going to go for 8 feet. So I'm going to hit the 8 right here. But by default, this is in inches. We don't want inches. We want to put it in feet. So I'm going to use the symbol for feet right here. And then I'm going to press enter. And then we have our feet. So if I press escape, I'll actually break away from that. And I actually want to go ahead and put 8 feet again on this side. I'm going to do it again. I'll put it 8 feet, enter. And then I'm going to complete this section right here. And we have our first increment of duct. And just to keep consistent, we're going to go back with the paintbrush tool. And I'm actually going to use a lighter color when I paint my ductwork, just so I could tell the difference between the two. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and dimensionalize this again. So I'm on the left-hand side. I go to my text. We're going to go to dimensions. We're just going to make sure that this is 8 feet. And we're good. It's good to do this along while you go, just to keep in mind you make sure that everything is correct. Because you don't want to have any improper measurements as you continue, because it could screw up the whole operation. Now on top of that, we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to make a reducer. This reducer is actually going to be going from the width of the unit, which you can see is 22 inches, and it's going to be mitigated by 8 inches. So that's going to be about 14 inches, I believe. So I'm actually going to go to my line tool again. And the easiest way to do this for me, actually, what I normally do is I keep in mind to see what the full length of this reducer is and how much I'm trying to cut off of that length. Now, if you're following with the PowerPoint, we're going 2 feet down. So remember, we're going to do 2 feet. And we're actually going to keep that 22 inches that we mentioned before. And I'm going to make this a full box. Now, you guys are going to see why I wanted to do that. I'm actually going to get this box and I'm going to cut it to size. So I'm actually going to go to this corner and I'm going to type in a 4 inches by default. And I have 4 inches actually plotted out. You can't really see it, but if I hover my cursor over there, now you can. And I'm actually going to do that on this side again beforehand. So we got 4 inches on both sides. Just to make sure of that, I'm going to go back to my dimensional tool. There it is. I got my 4 inches. I'm going to go back to my line tool, and I'm actually going to go from this point to our beginning point over there. I'm going to do that for both sides. Now, I have my reducer. I have everything reduced to how I like it, but I got to trim some of this that I have right over here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the eraser icon right here. And I'm just going to clip away at the parts that I don't want. And I can go back to my dimensional tool and I can confirm. Get out of the way. Good. 14 inches. That's a foot, 2 inches. We're good. And I can even go back to my paint bucket. I could paint this all nice. And I can even go back to my dimensional tool again. And I can finish this up. Even at an angle, I can confirm that it's 2 feet in length. And now our new size is 14 inches. So we're doing good. And when we extend, we're actually going to extend to another 8 feet. That doesn't give me too much room here on the screen, so I'm actually going to close this. And I'm going to pan again, holding down the Shift key and the middle mouse. There we go. I'm going to bring up my line tool again. And we're going to extend this ductwork another 8 feet. So just like so, I'm going to press the 8 again, feet, enter. I'm going to do 8 feet again. And I'm even going to paint that guy. So we have our ductwork. And to finalize this ductwork itself, I'm going to go back to my naming tool. I'm going to click anywhere on the duct is fine by me. I'm going to click on that. And we're going to write supply trunk. Now that our supply trunk is done, I'm actually going to go ahead and take a crack at the return duct. Return duct, that's going to be on the left-hand side. We're going to hold down our Shift key, we're going to hold down the middle mouse, and we're going to pan over a bit just to give ourselves some room. The return duct width is actually going to be a foot long. Now, as we see here with their dimensions, this is a foot and 10 inches. So doing some basic math, we got to cut off 5 inches on one side, 5 inches on the other side, using the same tool that we just learned before. I'm going to make a point, and we're going to make it 5 inches. 5, and I'm going to say 5 again. We're going to dimensionalize that just to be consistent. There we go. Now, with that in mind, we could almost ensure that our ductwork itself is going to be 1 foot or 12 inches in diameter. Now, I want to make this ductwork about 3 feet. So I'm going to go for 3. That looks good. 3. Finish it off. Just to make sure that we are 12 inches in length, get the dimensional tool. There you go, we got a foot, 12 inches. Now, following that, I want to actually do the return box that goes on the end of your return duct. And traditionally, the return box will be 24 inches by 24 inches, or 2 feet by 2 feet. Now, we already have a foot here. We want to go 6 inches out on one side, 6 inches out on the other side. So we're going to go 6. 6. Now the rest is easy. This is just going to be 2 feet, 2 feet, and we'll bring it home. Go ahead, get some coloring done. We're going to go ahead and label this again. That's a return box. And we're going to dimensionalize it. Ideally, when you dimensionalize, you actually want to give anybody who's reading this print enough information to figure out what they're looking at. You do not have to dimensionalize every single little bit that you're working with. For instance, I can dimensionalize this side, and I could dimensionalize this side. We know it's 2 by 2. I don't have to dimensionalize every other side. Ideally, I would dimensionalize right here. That would look nice. Something like this would be deemed a little redundant. We actually don't have to. I could even go ahead and delete this right here, and it still gets the point across. And I'll even dimensionalize this right here for good measure. I know that's 3 feet. So that way, anybody who's looking at my prints could actually be able to tell what the dimensions of everything should be. You're going to notice in an upcoming assignment posting next week, I'm going to give you guys some prints that I want you to remake yourselves, and I'm not actually going to give you every single dimension. There will be some basic math involved in figuring out what every length should be, but it's almost like a puzzle at that point. All right, so now we're actually going to move on to putting in a supply branch into our unit itself. So I'm actually going to hold down my shift key, press the middle mouse button, and I will pan on over to the endpoint over here all the way to the right hand side. My rule of thumb is I like to keep at least a foot away from the end of the duct itself and any other supply branches when we move on and add more of them. This even applies to field work as well. It's not ideal to actually have branches too close to each other on a supply trunk, whether it's commercial or residential. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get my line tool, and I'm going to go about a foot out. We're going to dimensionalize that just to make sure. Got a foot. Now, the supply trunk I do want to add is actually going to have a couple of qualities. It's going to be 7 feet long, and then it's going to have a 5-foot bend, and the actual dimension of the branch itself, and this is pretty important, is going to be 7 inches. So we're going to go 7 feet, we're going to go 5 feet, and now we actually have to worry about it being 7 inches, and I like to do that, of course, on the left hand side. I like to start from the inside of the curve and then work my way out. So 7, we'll dimensionalize that. We got 7, got 7 feet, and we got 5 feet. Now, it's easiest to do the stuff that we know first. We know it's going to be 7 inches on this side, so we'll keep that consistent. We know that this is going to be 7 feet, and we even have that little indicator right there. And we know this is going to be 5 feet. Now, the biggest part to worry about now is how are we going to actually articulate this curve? We could connect just that point to that point, but in real life, that's not what ducts actually look like. They actually have curves to them. So we're going to go on the left-hand side, and we're going to click over here our angling tool, and we're going to do the arc. Now, in order for the arc to work, you have to start from the inside, and then you go from the highest or the furthest away point that you do want to go. And if you look on the right-hand bottom side, for the length, it'll say 7 inches. So our radius is going to be 7 inches. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to take it with me all the way to the other end. And we have a 45-degree or 90-degree bend. That's 7 inches. And that actually completes the duct itself. I'm going to go back, I'm going to color it, make it all match. And I actually do want to add a grill at the end of it as well. So we're actually going to go to the left-hand side and we're going to try using the rectangle feature. For the rectangle feature, you could actually type in the measurement that you want. I'm thinking about making this 10 inches. And then we'll do a comma, 10 inches. There we go. We could even go ahead and change the color of it. We actually have more options over here. And I'll pick a pattern. Why not? This one's simple enough. Good. So, another thing to remember, too, before I forget, is that you could actually dimensionalize angles as well. Same exact way that you do it for other things, too. We're going to go to dimensions, and I'm going to click on this angle right here, and it says 7 inches. So we actually know our radius is 7 inches. Now, everything I actually expected from you guys is done for the week. I do want this saved and submitted to me. You guys are going to go ahead and hit save. It's going to allow you to save it. You could save it just in your Sketchup folder itself and name it something basic. Just name it air duct project. And you can hit save here. So this is actually saved in the cloud. It's tied into your account itself, so it's always going to be there. You can log on to it at home or anywhere, and you will still actually have it with you. We actually want to export this so you could upload it to Blackboard so I could actually see it and grade you guys. So what you guys want to do is you want to hit this folder right here, and you want to hit export. I recommend exporting it as a PNG. Anything else I really will not accept. So you're going to hit PNG. It's actually going to show you the image itself before you export it in all its glory. So you can see the full image and make sure you have everything that you need on screen. And you're going to hit export. You're going to hit continue. And it's now saved to my machine, ready to upload to the professor. That's all I expect from you guys for this week. Make sure you guys don't forget to hit up the discussion board and reply to that weekly. That's actually going to count for your participation. That's going to count for your attendance. So make sure you guys get that done. Now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you may email me or you may contact me on Blackboard.